If you run any type of agency and you want to sign more clients, you're gonna wanna watch this video, because the truth is, doing outreach for your agency is actually really, really simple. You're just missing one key thing that's stopping you from adding an extra 10K a month to your business or signing multiple more clients. I'm going to break down this video exactly what it is. Before we get into that, my name's Harry. I'm a partner of Smartlead. I create videos for Smartlead's YouTube channel. I'm also an outreach coach for Liam Otley's AI agency. And my business over the last 2 years has generated over $900,000 in revenue just from using cold outreach. No ads, no content really. I post a bit of content, obviously a bit of YouTube and LinkedIn, but all of this revenue has come from outbound, and that's really my job. I help people sign clients. And I'm going to show you exactly how we do it, because the truth is everyone tries to do this, but they actually get it wrong, right? What happens is people think they have a problem, but the reality is that is not always the problem, right? The problem is actually something else. And I've seen this from taking hundreds, if not probably thousands of calls with business owners at this point that all struggle with assigning clients. And they all think their problem is one thing, but in the reality, their problem is something else. Because you have beliefs around what your problem actually is, and they're usually fueled by emotion. Say, for example, you're running a cold email campaign, you're not getting replies, and you're getting all frustrated, you're getting agitated, and you're thinking emotionally, oh, it's just this market, they're not receptive to my message. Well, that's not actually true. I'm going to break down for you today exactly the metrics that you need to look at, and it explains everything, zooming in now, explains everything that you need to do for each stage of the pipeline where you're seeing your issue, right? So you can't just assume that, oh, your market isn't receptive, or this isn't the right niche for you, or this is a wrong offer, because there's people making any niche work and pretty much any offer work, right? You can see this everywhere. There's a lot of businesses and agencies out there that do different things, and they all help different people. So there's no reason that you can't make yours work. It's just a simple question of putting the right things in place, because business is based off logic, not emotion. So what you need to do when you're running outreach campaigns, and I assume you are if you're watching this far into the video, is you need to remove emotion from everything you're doing in your business and look at your problems logically. You need to think, how can we diagnose the actual problem that's going on? So I'm going to assume your problem is you're not signing enough clients. Now, this is not an emotional problem. This is a logical problem that we need to solve. It's not that your market doesn't work, because there's people in your market that are making it work, so it clearly does. There's just one thing that's holding you back, that's going to stop you from signing clients, and if we figure out what that is and create a solution, you'll start signing clients. It really is as simple as that. But what you need to do is you need to look at your outreach like a system, right? And you need to look at the system like a mechanic to diagnose what the actual problem is, right? We need to go in there and test different things and see what makes a difference. Because if we just think, okay, this whole system doesn't work, it's useless. Right? We need to actually figure out what the core problem is, solve the core problem, and then probably more problems will arise, we'll solve those, and soon enough we'll be signing clients. The way to actually look at this like a system and figure out what the core problem is to track data at every stage of the funnel to diagnose the exact problem. So we need to track data for everything. We need to see how many emails we're sending, how many messages we're getting back, or how many replies we're getting, how many of these are positive, how many sales calls we're booking, how many people are showing up, etc. Right? It really is just a mathematical equation for you to sign X number of clients by doing X number of outreach. It really is as simple as that, right? So in order to track each stage, we actually need to figure out what each stage actually is. So we're going to go into the breakdown of a cold email funnel, right? Okay, so this would explain exactly how you can sign clients, which is the end result, from each step in the process of this cold email funnel. Right, so effectively, what it looks like is we need to work backwards. We need to reverse engineer what a client actually is. So how do we get a client? It's not as simple as just running a campaign and clients will pop out of nowhere. You know that by now if you're running campaigns. It's not as easy as that. We need to work backwards from the client to the very first thing we need to do. And we need to control each of these variables, track each of these variables, and optimize them if we want to sign as many clients as possible. So in order to sign a client from cold email, what we need to have is a sales call, right? If we don't have the sales call, we can't close the client. Simple as that. In order to get the sales call, we need to get bookings, because a certain amount of people are going to book and then not show up to the sales call. So in order to get sales calls, we need to get bookings. This might sound simple, but let me explain to you why this is so important in just a second, because we can track the numbers for this. In order to get bookings, we need to send calendar links to people. If we're not sending calendar links to people, how are people going to book in our calendar? They can't. So in order to get calendar links sent out, we need to get positive replies. We need to get people who are showing interest. In order to get positive replies, we need to get replies in general, because a certain percentage of these are going to be positive. In order to get replies, we need to send emails, right? So how many emails we send, along with all these other variables, is a direct function of how many clients we will get. So in order to get X, i.e. a sales call, we need Y first. And we need to figure out the percentage conversion at each stage of this funnel. So out of how many emails we send, how many replies do we get? Out of how many replies we get, how many are positive? Out of how many positive replies do we get, how many calendar links do we send? Out of how many calendar links we send, how many bookings do we get? Out of how many bookings we get, how many sales calls do we get? Out of how many sales calls do we get, how many clients do we get? This is really fundamentally important to understand outreach. Once you get this right, your outreach will pretty much always work, right? Because you understand what the problem actually is, rather than guesswork to just say, oh, it's just not working. No, what exactly isn't working? And then how do we solve that, right? So this is just a very, very generic example of what it might look like for an average offer for an average business. Let's say you want to sign 3 clients. Doesn't matter what you charge them. Let's say it's $3,000 a month, right? So this would be 9K MRR. To sign 3 clients, let's assume you have a 20% conversion rate. This means that you need to take 15 sales calls to close 3 clients at a 20% conversion rate, okay? Let's say you have a 70% sharp rate on your calls. It means you need to make 22 bookings. 70% of them will show, so you take 15 sales calls, right? In order to actually get 22 bookings, let's assume we have a 60% booking rate. That means we need to send 37 calendar links out, and 60% of those people will actually book. Okay, in order to send calendar links out, we need to get positive replies. Let's assume 80% of the positive replies are qualified and able to, move forward. Then we need 47 positive replies to send 37 calendar links to all the qualified leads that got back to us. Okay. Let's assume out of all the positive replies, 25% of all replies are positive. So we have 25% positive reply rate. That means we need 188 replies to get 47 positive replies. In order to get 188 replies, let's assume we have a 2.5% reply rate on email. We need to send 7,500 emails. So instead of just thinking, oh, I need to sign 3 clients, how on earth do I do that? Now you have the exact formula where if you follow this and you send 7,500 emails and each of these metrics are within KPI, it's impossible not to sign 3 clients. Statistically impossible, okay? So you need to define your own KPIs for this. So let's say you want to aim for a 3% reply rate, 30% of those being positive, 80% of those being qualified, 60% of those booking in, 75% showing up, and 20% closing. Then that's your metrics. That's how you decide how many emails you need to send out to sign that many clients. These are pretty standard numbers, and I would assume yours are these if you have no idea. If you do know these, then put your numbers in and it will give you literally a formula of how many emails or LinkedIn messages or calls you need to make to sign X number of clients. Now, this is all well and good knowing this, but what if you're saying, okay, I'm sending 7,500 emails, but I'm not getting 188 replies. This isn't working. So now we actually can start to figure out what the problem is so we can solve it, right? Because your problem could be you're not getting 188 replies. Your problem could also be that you're not sending out enough booking links because the prospects aren't qualified enough, right? Basically, it just tells you where your problem actually lies. For most people, it's probably going to be reply rate, right? For some people, it could be conversion rate on sales calls. But depending on the problem, it means you have to put a different solution in place to solve that problem, of course, right? If your conversion rate sucks and it's 5%, it's no good just sending out more emails. It's much more beneficial for you to increase your close rate by using different sales frameworks, different closes, etc. Right? But I'm going to dive into this. So let's literally use this example, and let's say these are my metrics. This is what I want to hit, but I'm not hitting them. Right? This is how I figure out what I need to do better. So first thing I need to ask myself is, am I doing this? Am I sending 7,500 emails per month? If I am, yes, great. I can go on to the next bit. If I'm not, send more emails. You do this through getting more accounts and more domains and potentially a larger total addressable market. So obviously, if you're saying, oh, my market is only 500 people, I can't send 7,500 emails, then you need to get a bigger market. It's not rocket science. Get a bigger market and get more email accounts and more domains, right? If you are sending 7,500 emails, are you getting a 2.5% reply rate? If you're not, you need to check deliverability to make sure your emails are actually sending properly and not ending up in the spam folder. If your reply rate is below 1%, I would always get new domains and new email accounts. It's very unlikely that your copy is the issue if you're below 1%, because even 1% of people should be telling you they're not interested, which sounds funny, but it's true. If it's around 1 to 2% and you want to boost it, change the copy, make the copy shorter, more engaging, and more likely to get replies. But if your reply rate is low, it's because your deliverability or your copy is bad. If you're getting replies, but you're not getting positive replies, it means your offer needs to be stronger and you need to adjust your copy. You need to create better copy that is more compelling to your audience and a stronger offer. How do you create a stronger offer? I've got videos on my channel of how you do that. Use Alex Hormozi's value equation or offer equation, right? Better dream outcomes, more social proof, less time and sacrifice for the client and less time delay, okay? So if you are getting the positive replies, but you're not getting people to book in, then you need to increase the value for the call, right? So you basically need to give people more of an incentive to book a call. So instead of saying it's going to be a sales call, say this is going to be a consultation audit, and that will get more people to book in because it's less friction and I feel like they get sold to less, or increase follow-up. So if you're just sending a calendar link and that's it, of course people aren't going to book in first time, so maybe you need to get an SDR giving them a call, you need to follow up on LinkedIn, you need to follow up on SMS, just make your follow-up better. So if you are getting replies and you're getting positive replies, but you're not getting bookings, you need to make the call more valuable or increase your follow-up. If you are getting bookings, but you're not getting sharp rates, right, you're not getting a 70% sharp rate, then you need to add more pre-call reminders. You can do this in Calendly, add more SMS reminders, add more email reminders, add a pre-call VSL. So as soon as someone books in a call into your calendar, they'd be redirected to a video sales letter that would explain exactly what you do and give them a reason to jump on the call. And you can also add a setter pre-call. So as soon as someone books in the call, you can get a setter, appointment setter to give them a call and say, look, really looking forward to this call. Just wanted to make sure you can still make it. This is still a good time for you, etc. So if that's your issue and you're not getting people to show up to your call, this is how you fix it. If you are getting people to show up to your call and you're getting everything, but you're not getting a 20% close rate, right? Then you need to update your sales process. Maybe take it from a 1 call close to a 2 call close, or hire new closers who are more effective, who are better, and just optimize your follow-up and get a better offer, right? So if your offer on the sales call, if the sales call is going really well until you make your pitch, then it's obvious that the pitch is the issue. You can use this framework with basically anything. So for example, if your sales call is also going really well, there's going to be a thing, or it's not going so well, there's going to be a thing in the sales call that's letting you down. So you can also break down your sales call like this. So is the intro going well? Is discovery going well? Where do the leads fall off? Where's the issue? Pinpoint the issue and solve it. This is all business is. It's just finding problems and solving them, right? But if you hit all of these numbers and you are getting 70% sharp rate and you get 20% close rate, congratulations. It's statistically impossible not to hit your goal. If you're not hitting your goal, it's because you're not hitting one of these numbers. And if you're not hitting one of these numbers, you know exactly what to do to fix it. It's not going to be easy, but it's simple, right? So that's exactly what you need to do in order to hit these goals, okay? And if you do that, you're going to get similar results to me. This is what's been able to carry and grow my business. Anytime I run into an issue, I diagnose the problem. Right? Of course, with a full business, this is just client acquisition. With a full business, you're going to have team members that are going to have problems. You're going to have retention. You're going to have all of these things. But if you use this framework and methodology and reverse engineer success, you can figure out what the problem is and create solutions for that. So hopefully this video has been useful. If you want access to this document, there should be a link in the description. And you can also message me on Instagram if that's easier for you. If you're looking for one-to-one help on how to do this and build cold email funnels and build lead generation to scale your business, I'm gonna have a link in the description where you can book a call directly with me. If that's gonna be useful, please do that. If not, no worries, but hopefully this video has been useful and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.